Okay, I just heard from our last board member that he is not going to be able to make it, so we will not have a quorum. However, the board members that aren't here will be able to view the presentations via recording. So we're going to go ahead with the presentations today and the application submittals, and we will at a later date finish up voting on the awards. Later in the meeting, I'm going to be bringing up some alternate dates to add to some dates to add to impending applications in this project and other programs. So we'll get to that later. But since we have people from out of state ready to prepare and people here in person ready to prepare, I want to honor that. And so we will go ahead with regular business. So our agenda after the call to order and roll call, we will go over these two housing development loan program applications. We will discuss, give you some updates on the Affordable Housing Fund. We've got several staff updates to give you on the department. And then we'll end up with open discussion, other business, and then adjournment. So with that said, do I have a motion to call the meeting to order?
Motion to call the meeting to order. Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Okay. We don't have a quorum, but the motion passed 3-0.
You can't vote to start.
Good to know for prosperity. So, as I mentioned, we do have two housing development loan program applications, and I believe all of you have received these, and I'm sure have spent some time going over them. But as normal course of business, we like to ask our applicants to come in and discuss their applications in greater detail and answer any questions that the board might have. So a couple of things about these applications. There are two of them. Both groups are going to present. There will be questions for that you can ask at the end of each group presentation. So two different times for questions. And then there will be a general board discussion after both presentations. Last July, we made $1 million available to rental and multifamily projects through the home program, and none of it's been used. If you notice, I believe awarding both would be $1,080,000. Sally has indicated that we can pull $80,000 from other home funds to make it to where we could fund both projects. So this isn't an either or situation. So I want the board to keep that in mind as we go along, that if you like both applications, then we can allocate funding for both. Just a reminder, put some scoring sheets down where you're sitting. These are the major sections that the applications are scored on: the development plan, qualifications and development experience of the developer, qualifications of property management experience of the developer or development team, financial feasibility of the development plan and timeframe, financial condition and performance record of the applicant, and the time frame for commitment and completion of development plan. And then there's bonus points for addressing special need populations. In the scoring, each area is assigned a maximum number of points, and that's listed on the headers of the different sections. Each board member, you must submit complete rankings for both. You should review the submitted application and be prepared to ask questions. And board members can discuss this in open meetings. As I mentioned, we'll do that after the presentation of both applications. Keep in mind that this is an open meeting, so all notes and scores and any other records that you use in making your decision, you'll need to turn in and make available for open records. Okay, the first group that's going to present is Commonwealth Development. In summary, they are proposing Ark River Residences at 5136 South Broadway here in Wichita. It'll be a new construction project of 42 units, multifamily in nature. The home funds they're requesting are $420,000. Their home application and allocation of funding is part of a 2025 tax credit application process for low-income housing tax credits that they will apply for. I believe those applications go out in May. If I'm mistaken, please pardon me, but I believe May is correct. And the 420,000 is a portion of their total development costs of $12,522,310. So with that, I will turn it over to the Commonwealth crew for your presentation. I just ask that you let me know when I need to forward a slide.
Thank you, Lance, and the review board for having me today. My name is Liz Peterson. I'm a development services manager with Commonwealth Development. Daniel DeFrancesco, who is the VP of development, he could not make the meeting today, but he will be the lead developer on this project. So I'm, filling in his place. And also, happy to answer any questions you may have about our proposal. Ark River Residences is located at 5136 South Broadway. You can go ahead and advance to the next slide. So just a little bit about us. Commonwealth has been around since 2001. We've developed over 8,000 units in over 15 states. And this would actually be our first development in Kansas. And, we've had good opportunity at this location and have met with Sally Stang as well as, the department here in Wichita and understand that there is a need for affordable housing in the community. And so, we want to ensure that we're the right fit for the project, feel that there's a lot of commonalities. We're a long-term owner, so what you see, here is that we will be committed to owning and operating the project for the long run. The affordability period is guaranteed for at least 15 years. So you can advance to the next slide. So this is just an overview of the site plan. So we will be doing family-sized units. So we will have a range of 1 to 3 bedroom units set aside at the 30, 40, 50, and 60% AMI levels. So you can see the breakdown there. Just want to make sure that there is a wide range of unit types and income ranges that are accommodated by our development. And also the clubhouse and playground amenities would house, things that we have seen work best for families. So again, having that outdoor area to ensure that kids have a place to play and that people have a place to gather, a business center. So we'll have internet access as well as fitness center. So on some of those colder days, you can still use ellipticals, treadmills. So those wellness facilities are something that are, just important and standard in all of our developments. And, the reason we really feel that this project is competitive in terms of KHRC is this located less than half a mile from grocery, childcare, shopping, and retail amenities. So that's something that really is going to set this location apart from other applications that are going in, not only in the city of Wichita, but just across the board for this metro new construction set aside. And we also will have 10% of the units set aside for a special population. So we will look to contract with a nonprofit service provider. So we'll enter into an MOU to support those residents. Can advance to the next slide, please. So just a little bit more on that special needs population. As I mentioned, the memorandum of understanding is something that we do typically when we have this set aside. So a few, nonprofit service providers we've identified include Wichita Children's Home, United Methodist Open Door, or the Center of Hope Homeless Prevention Program. So these services could be anything from financial and budgeting services. So helping a household set up, what is their monthly payments and how can they ensure that they have long-term housing stability once they do enter into our forever residences. Could be medical assistance, medical expense assistance, utility payment assistance, or just general like life skills and counseling resources. So this is also something that our property management partner, We Get Omega, has ample experience. There's going to be the owner, which would be Commonwealth Development, We Get Omega, the property management, and then the nonprofit service provider. So all three of those parties will have an agreement and make sure that this, relationship works as smoothly as possible, and that again, this 10% special population has the resources that they need to ensure that long-term stability within the housing. So you could go to the next slide, please. And then the next few slides are just to show you some comparable unit finishes. Commonwealth really prides ourselves on developing units that are not going to look necessarily like what the stereotype of affordable housing may be. We really look to be comparable with the market rate product. And again, with We Get Omega as the property manager, they do both Section 42, so the low income housing tax credit projects, as well as market rate. And so having that comparison, you see the in-unit laundry here. So again, just really wanting to be at parity with market rate product that's in the community. So I know financial feasibility and the timeline are things that are important to the board. And so just wanting to show you what our project timeline is. So again, yes, the low-income housing tax credit through KHRC is due May 23rd. So we will be proceeding. We were invited to apply, which is exciting. And then we will be hearing about that award in August. So we would anticipate a closing in January 2026 and have the project beginning to lease up in March of 2027 with full stabilized occupancy in July. So again, we really pride ourselves on having an integrated project team. So M&A Design is our in-house architect. And so that just really allows us to move quickly and work again with the city of Wichita on the permitting process and just ensure that we are ready to proceed as soon as we receive that decision from KHRC. So here's the high-level sources and uses. And again, our project is financially feasible through an award of tax credits, as well as the home funds through the city of Wichita. The home funds also ensure that our project is more competitive and allows that financial leverage to be viewed more favorably and does, allow us to score points with the state. So that does, ensure that our project is ready to go once we do receive that tax credit award. And just a note here that Roanoke Construction, who is a local GC to the Kansas market, provided recent pricing. So we are confident that these numbers are solid and backed by local projects. So again, thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Liz. Do we have any questions from the board?
January of 2026 is within our guidelines of all of these. Okay.
Yes.
I know we ran into that last time where closing was kind of stumbling. with the deadline.
Yes, that falls within home program rules.
My question just was if a January 2026 closing was still falling within guidelines, only because we had that happen on another proposal where their closing wasn't occurring in the year that it needed to be. And the answer is yes. So that was just that question for me.
That's the answer, and I appreciate the question. It was the Affordable Housing Fund that had different
Different fund.
Different.
Got it.
deadlines, yes.
One of the questions that I had from reviewing the information that was provided is special needs population. So from the special needs population, are we talking about like more physical needs as far as like zero entry? From a physical characteristic versus more of a mental, because it seems like some of the service organizations that were mentioned, just trying to get a better understanding of it fitting that special needs population.
Actually, any special need qualifies, physical, mental, it all qualifies. We just ask that they address in their applications how they're going to serve special needs population. And like, for instance, there are some handicap accessible units that are part of different applications, and those vary in size depending on, who they're targeting to rent the property.
So in this case, are 10% going to be ADA or ADA accessible, or will there be a physical difference in those units?
Yeah, so I can clarify. So typically the set aside is not tied to specific units in terms of, the accessible units that will exist within the property are both we'll have handicap accessible, that could mean hearing, visually impaired, or wheelchair accessibility. So the 10% set aside will be more defined once we do identify that specific service provider partner. I was just mentioning those 3 that we did reach out to and just describing more about the process and the next steps that we will take. And that service provider will be identified prior to the KHRC application. So, we're happy to provide some follow-up information just in terms of the more specific supportive services plan. But at this time, it's just a general, 10% set aside for individuals who are either physically or mentally disabled.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
On one of these documents, one of the financials, it shows a $415 per unit management fee. Is that, just for my knowledge, is that during the build time that fee is in effect, or is that after completion for marketing the property, moving someone in per unit? I'm just new to this management fee part of a construction budget.
Sure. So are you looking on page, I guess, 9 of the application, management fee 415 per unit?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so it's actually the operating expense. So that would be the fee towards the third-party property manager, Week and Omega, for their service to, both staff the building, ensure that, residents have the services that they need, review, applications for the property, maintenance requests, that sort of thing. So that's the actual fee to operate the building once it's constructed.
Okay, kind of like an acquisition fee to get someone into each unit.
So that's not part of the development budget. That's after construction, once the building is starting to lease out, with tenants. That's just the annual cost to have that third-party property manager.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Liz, thank you for your time today. You're welcome to hang on and hear the other applications and um, monitor the exciting events that occur after, or you can return to work, whichever you like. But we do appreciate you being here today.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Okay, the next group is 212 North Market LLC. And coincidentally, their development is located at 212 North Market in Wichita. It's new construction of an existing structure. Yes, you heard me correctly. There are definitions and terms. Basically, the building is there. It's an office building. They're taking it from an office building to a residential building. But under certain rules, this is considered new construction. So just trust me on that. It's 68 units, multifamily. The home funds they're requesting are $680,000. Home application and funding is also part of a 2025 tax credit application. And their total development costs all in is $19,806,028. And with that, I'll ask the group to come up here and present.
Thanks very much. I'm Sam Edelson, and I'm the principal developer on this property, along with my partners from Exact Architecture, Caleb Booland, and then we have a nonprofit partner local to Wichita in the form of Mennonite Housing, who's been helping us with our application, and he'll be doing the management. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Very
And
good.
I apologize for not recognizing you online. I saw Mr. Adrian here and I didn't know if he was the ringmaster of this or not. So thank you for speaking up.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I was wondering where Byron was and that he must be there live. Well, that's perfect. Anyways, you'll be very happy that I'm not there live because I have the flu. So that if I look a little disheveled, that's because I am. To give you a little background about ourselves, we are a development company principally focused on historic adaptive reuse type projects. We've done either completed or have in our pipeline over 1,000 of these types of historic adaptive reuse multifamily units throughout really the West and Midwestern states. I'm based out of Denver. My partner Caleb from Exact is based out of Kansas City. And we have been doing historic adaptive reuse for probably over the last, well, Caleb probably over the last 20 years and myself over the last 7 or so. This is also a part of the 9% 2025 LIHTC round. We actually applied last year, and this is our second go of it, really benefiting principally from having a nonprofit partner in the form of Mennonite Housing now joining us, adding to kind of our experience within the Wichita market. But long story short, we are looking to transform what is currently effectively 100% vacant office building in downtown Wichita that was originally an Elks Club into 68 affordable units, which consist of some real deep affordability. And I think that's something that, we want to highlight with, well, effectively over 15% of units affordable at 30% AMI, and additional on top of that 15%, 30% affordable at 40% AMI. And basically taking a product and a building that otherwise will continue to fall into disrepair and kind of bringing new life to downtown Wichita. So that's something we're really excited about. This is kind of the unit layout of what we're looking to do with the building. We really get excited about these beautiful old historic buildings and trying to find a way to bring them into significance into today's world. And this is a perfect example of what we like to do. There's a lot of historic character there. It's a beautiful building, but it is just not in a form today that has use in Wichita. And in turning it into these 68 affordable units, we will not only get to save the building, but also get to house and bring to the city of Wichita affordable housing that we understand also is in significant need within the city. I'll also add, lastly, um, it is, and I know the last person chat touched on this as well. It's very critical for these applications in terms of how KHRC views and scores our project if we get this kind of local support on these projects. So we get materially more points in our application process if we do have these funds versus if we don't have these funds. And so overall, what this to me means is that your guys' decision is really the difference between, us maybe getting awarded this project and very likely to get awarded our project based on kind of our own internal calculations on scoring. Maybe next slide here. So I'll give you just a sense of what we are looking to do in terms of units and mix, 68 total units, also oriented over 25% to 3-bedroom units, providing family housing, which we understand is particularly in short need. Also, just further, a lot of the things that you'll see, both the prior application or our application, is a function of how the KHRC application process works, right? So we're effectively all trying to build points, and having 3-bedroom units is critical to that. Having deeper affordability like our project offers with 15% at 30 AMI adds to that. But what we think overall is we'll basically have a really beautiful building with a great mix of units and really strong tenant amenities to basically revitalize the building overall. Maybe we'll go to the next one here. So this we can speak to kind of some of our other work and just kind of give you a sense of what we do. So this is the Netherland building that we did in downtown Kansas City. This was like kind of a bombed out historic hotel that had been neglected for decades. An exact architecture, and our firm came in and brought this back to life, creating market rate units in Kansas City. Excuse me. I really show you this to give you guys a sense of what the look and feel of our product is. We will also be effectively creating our units at market level type finishes. The reality is it's just not that difference of cost to do so, and the product ends up being just a lot nicer. So this is a market rate deal that we did, and kind of look and feel of finish that you could expect at the Elks Club at 212 North Market. Can we go to the next one here? This is the Monarch, similar situation, historic building, terrible condition. And at the end of it, we think we're creating units that are really attractive and usable in today's world. What also helps our project and frankly makes it feasible, because these projects aren't in and of themselves easy, is this project will benefit not only from hopefully LIHTC credits, which we would need to make it work, but also historic tax credits. And so when we think about what is effectively a $20 million cap stack, the way we can get these projects to work is by stacking LIHTC credits, the local Kansas LIHTC credit, historic tax credits, and these home funds. I think, again, this is just give you a sense of what the Netherland and Monarch looked like in terms of scale, bigger project than what we would be doing over at the Elks Club. We also have a very large project in Denver that we're currently in the mix on. It's about 493 units at a historic adaptive reuse of a hospital building here in Denver that, again, was basically commissioned by Truman. It was a fantastic Veterans Administration hospital that otherwise would have been lost to history had we not been able to come in and save it and convert that over to apartments. I'll hit the last one here. And then I want to also just quickly turn it over to Byron because while I'm based in Denver and Caleb and the exact team's in Kansas City, Byron has spent a lot of time helping us assess the situation, getting to know the property, and he has tremendous affordable experience in Wichita, and I wanted to let him kind of speak to that.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, I'm Byron Adrian. I'm representing Mennonite Housing. Mennonite Housing is a local nonprofit organization here in Wichita. We've been involved with tax credit and other types of property development and management for over 30 years. And we would be involved with this project in the form of providing expertise and experience and assistance through the application process and through the development stages. And our involvement would include having a 20% ownership interest in the managing member. So we'd have that long-term commitment as a part owner. And then also we would function as the property manager. And in the HDLP application materials, we had a list so you can see the properties that we've been involved with. 35 properties, over 1,300 units. And I'll just reiterate one thing Sam said, that, with this HDLP application, if it is approved for the amount requested, it does increase the opportunity for an award here in the city of Wichita, makes the tax credit application a lot stronger. So thank you.
Thank you both for your presentation. We'll open it up to the board and see if there's any questions.
I know this was covered in the application, but when would you predict being ready to have it start filling up? So when would this actually open the doors if we got it approved?
Yeah, so I would say we're broadly on the same timeline as the other applicants. So we'll be, getting the award hopefully in August, provided that goes through. We would look to then close and start construction, the same time frame of December. Maybe it flips into January. We suspect it'll take 12 months to do this conversion. In our experience, that should be doable, and then we'd be listing after that.
And where are you on the historic tax credits application process?
Yeah, so this property is already on the National Register. So it's kind of by right, can get these historic eligible. We did a part one last year and were approved. When we didn't get the 9% credits last year, we punted on finishing the part two. But basically, we have a part two that is already prepared. So again, come August, assuming we were able to get the credits, we would then finish getting the part two approved. And just, I don't know how familiar you guys are, but there's a part one and then there's a part two. At part two, you basically get the credits, and then as long as you build the project according to plan, then you get part three approval, which is just saying that you built it, according to National Park Service standards and your plans, and then the tax credits come in after that.
Okay, so I'm new at this, so I apologize if some of my questions seem a little different, and maybe this is for conversation after this project, but whenever we do the credit stacks like that, so for example, between the LIHTC, credits, between the credits that we'll be providing along with historic credits, where does the city fall in the event that let's say the project, worst case scenario, doesn't come through to fruition? Like, where's the recapture back on that?
Yeah, so functionally speaking, we cannot close on any of our lending, the construction financing, without all of these components in place. So basically, before we would start work in that kind of December, January timeframe, we would have secured historic tax credits, LIHTC credits, and hopefully these home fund credits.
And further clarification, you are approving the allocation of the money. It's not, we don't cut a check and hand it out. We all close simultaneously and everything would have to fall together.
Okay, and I guess I was just kind of thinking of it from almost like a legal perspective, like so if there's different
Oh, what
types of,
position are we in?
yeah, like what type of,
Um,
because let's say it's not sustainable and you're 2 years into the project, then at what point, who gets paid back first?
Well, typically the tax credit, LURA, the land use agreement, gets filed, and that, is basically the tax credits are in first position, and then the other types of funding will just fall behind that, is the way in the tax credit realm of financing. So you would have construction financing, you would have these home funds, and those would all fall in. Typically, it's going to be the construction loan that would be right behind, say, the LIHTC, and then home funds. And that's the way we've seen it. Sam, if you have another view on that, but that's typically what we see in terms of the subordination of the funding that's involved.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, we've never dealt with that. Basically, when we close on our construction financing, we effectively guarantee personally, right, as a liability, all of these funds coming through, right? And so from a personal perspective, it's not really viable. Like, we would never start a project without having the financing and the construction contracts be fully in place, right? And then separately, from a track record standpoint, we've never been in a situation where there's been any type of tax credit recapture. So I've actually never experienced it. I don't know the answer.
And I'll just add that since I've been here, it's never happened. I'm not aware of historically within the department that it's ever happened. But when we issue funds, the grantee signs a funding agreement, and there are clawback provisions in the funding agreement should a project not come to fruition. So there are many protections for many folks, and fortunately, we've never had to go down that road. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it
Okay.
basically with just getting so many different credits from so many different places, it's kind of like, okay, well, at some point, if it's never a problem till it's a problem. So I was just curious, like how that recapture part of it would end up coming into play.
Any other questions?
My question, in your cost detail, I'm sure under one of these categories, do you have contingencies for things like asbestos, lead-based paint, cast iron plumbing? Is that kind of built into your rehab budget? Out of curiosity, I didn't see it broken down, and I'm sure dealing with the kind of buildings, you run into cans of worms occasionally.
Yeah, that is basically a strangely large portion of my life is dealing with asbestos abatement. So in short, we believe the answer is it's not explicitly broken out, and that's because basically as you build up these budgets, especially at this stage, it's extremely hard to get to that level of granularity. There is there is asbestos in this building. We will have to do remediation of it. We have, based on our experience, so like for instance, on my 500 unit adaptive reuse project here in Denver, that's a 590,000 square foot building. It's a later vintage, so it would naturally have more asbestos in it. And we will do abatement for probably about $750,000 at that project. My guess is, and what we've budgeted in, is $500,000 or less asbestos containing material in this project.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Sam and Byron, thank you so much for your presentation. And again, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you're welcome to leave as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for the consideration.
This is a question that we always get, so I'll just put it out there. Staff has reviewed both of these applications, and as we discussed, this isn't an either or. We have funding to do both. And given the fact that our funding cycle began July of last year, and we haven't had any applications, we're very excited to have two in front of us here. We realize that there's additional things that have to happen for our funding to be involved in a project, but we feel good about both of these. And as a staff, we recommend that the Affordable Housing Review Board recommend approval of the Home Investment Partnership funding allocations of $420,000 to Commonwealth Development Corporation and $680,000 to 212 North Market LLC, and submit the recommendation for a conditional commitment of funds to the Wichita City Council. Again, we don't have a quorum, so we can't do that today, but that is our recommendation. Do you have any questions for staff?
Do you want our score sheets today if they're ready?
If they're ready, we'll take them today. Sure. And if you give them to me today, I will have them with me for the next meeting so that you can refer to them.
So right now from these two projects, since we have an additional 80,000, where exactly will that be earmarked from?
We have several different programs within the home program, the HUD home program. Like, for instance, we do single family development, we do down payment assistance, we do all kinds of things. And we've got, we reviewed it, and we've got more funds in some of those programs than what we expected to have this time of year. So we could move those over and without a problem at all. Any funds that aren't spent at the end of the fiscal year are just kept, and sometimes they're used as reserves on when big projects like this come down, or they can be reallocated the next year. It's just kind of up to whatever our plan looks like for that year for the housing department.
It feels like a really great problem to have if they both get LIHTC credits, and also kind of maybe unlikely. So by approving both, we kind of hedge our bets a little bit, I feel.
Yeah.
What about the discussion that's happening before the state right now as far as doing away with the LIHTC program? Are the feasibilities of these projects at risk due to what the state decides to do?
Well, I can't speak for them, but in the funding stacks that they've placed in their applications, I can tell you that they're a major component. So they would have to find something else to substitute that, or hold it for another fiscal year and apply again. So ours is just a small portion of that. But yeah, that would, in realistic terms, it would probably kill their application or their project. But I don't want to speak for them on that regard. So, yeah.
Can I speak on that?
Yes.
quickly? So yeah, that is something that we've been discussing. Obviously we would have to reassess. I mean, there's been times in so Commonwealth, been in business since 2001. So there've been definitely times in the company's history where, funding that we anticipated to be available, just unfortunately through, either political reasons or economic reasons was no longer there. So we just kind of talked about, there's other avenues, we could go down, whether it's the Federal Home Loan Bank. They have a program, the HP program, which a $420,000 award would be something that would be possible for us to be applying for. So yeah, I think we would just at that point, assess other gap fillers, as we call them. So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a conversation point, but I think it would just not be, it would be a much more global issue for other light tech projects as well. So
And from the city home program perspective, that if they had to go down that road, it would be considered a substantial application change and they would just have to reapply. Good question.
Can I speak on that, please?
Yes.
We actually just talked about that this morning in a meeting, and if they do get rid of the the tax credit, then it's not going to be for this year. It'll be for future years. Everything that's already in the development right now, they'll continue to fund.
Good to know. Thank you for that distinction.
Affordability period for these units is 15 years, correct? That they will remain at these rents? Is there something built in for like inflation adjustments? Just looking at rent numbers. What a 1-bedroom will rent for, 2-bedroom will rent for. Maybe I need to just read further into this papers.
I believe based on the award amount, it would be 15 years. That's what determines the affordability period.
I didn't know, just
I
like
don't
with
know.
typical rent, if there's a little bit of a bump, for inflation and things like that over that period of time.
Yes, yeah.
I think at one of the tabs on one of them, it actually showed what their anticipated inflation level.
Thank you.
was gonna
Okay.
be in there.
I thought I probably missed something. Okay.
Yeah, because I think they had them at 3%, which is kind of.
Any further discussion or questions of staff? Okay, moving on. Oops. Okay. For those listening outside, that concludes our HDLP discussion. We're going to move on to other business. So again, thank you for being here and thank you for your contribution today. In terms of the Affordable Housing Fund, we just wanted to give you a couple of quick updates. The second round of, okay, some of you were here and some of you were not. So we did a request for proposal for a group of public housing homes that we sold in one group. And the purpose of that was to get developer interest in rehabbing a group of those and then either reselling them or leasing them to income qualified buyers or renters. So the first round we did was 66 properties. We sold 33 of those. That group of 33 has now gone through all kinds of HUD approvals, declaration of trust releases, financing signatures, and I'm proud to announce that we are going to close on those in February. We're actually closing some this week, and then again in the month of March. So I know it's C on my list here, but I felt like some good news was due. So, and then once they close, they can start rehab anytime. So, I'm guessing in a couple of weeks, if you drive up there, you might see some activity. So I did want to put that out there. The second round, it's not called an RFP anymore. It's called a competitive application. And that change was made through consultation with our legal and purchasing departments. And I actually think it better describes what we're doing here. So anyway, 56 properties went out into the competitive application. The application is, we held open houses. We took questions from developers. We took all the developers' questions, put them in a Q&A addendum and sent them out last Friday. And we're taking applications, and that application closes next Friday at midnight. So, or at midnight? Don't quote me on the time, but next Friday, the application closes. And then we'll begin staff review, any revisions that applicants will need to make, things of that nature. So that brings me to item B. Our regular monthly meeting is Monday, March 31st. We'll actually be in a position to take a look at those week before, if you have availability. And so we would like to, again, we don't have a quorum here, so I'd have to reach out through email at a later time, but these are the dates we want you to keep in mind. Monday, March 24th, we'd like to add that. If any day during that week works, if that date's not available to you and another day during that week does work, please let me know what that is. Our Monday, March 31st meeting, that's our regular scheduled meeting, so we'll keep that. And then if necessary, we'd like to do Monday, April 7th. I don't, based on the experience you had last time, and as quickly as you went through them and as logically as the process became, and the learning we had as staff as a result of that process, I think we can get through it in 2 weeks. So please check your calendars. I'm going to send up a follow-up email from this meeting asking if these dates work. And if we can get a quorum, then great. If we can't, then we'll explore additional dates. But those are the dates we're looking at right now. My phone's been buzzing like crazy with confirmations that we're getting applications. So I think that's a good sign. So, any questions, comments on any of that? Okay. Next is the housing staff update. Got a lot of new faces around here, at least to you. It's been a long time since we've met. A real long time. So first person I'd like to introduce is Steve Burt. He's the new Housing and Community Services Assistant Director. Steve, do you have a speech prepared?
No,
Okay, all right.
you seem to be one to be the comedian today,
All right,
so
okay,
come on.
all right.
The HMS guy,
That's right.
HMIS guy.
You've seen my presentations. I'm the data guy.
I was gonna say, he knows the numbers. He's the stats guy.
I'm over running numbers, yes.
Good.
And I've got a new supervisor. She hasn't run off yet. So that's Carmen Hoffine. She's the real property section manager. And wait, how long you been here now?
3.5 months.
3.5 months. Okay.
And counting.
And counting. And then Tanner Follis is not here today, but he'll be my counterpart, another real property program specialist. At least part of his workload is assigned to us, and we welcome him. He's a sharp guy, and we'll introduce you to him again when he's present. Okay, any other business or open discussion that we need to have regarding anything?
First, I just want to say welcome to the new staff. I'm excited to see new faces, and also thank you for the update on the projects that are getting ready to start. I got goosebumps, just finally something to see, I guess not dirt moving because it's mostly rehabs, but I'm excited to drive down and see that. So thank you.
Right. Other comments, discussion?
Did you also want to note that you had a vacancy on the board that you're recruiting for and use them to help you?
Do I?
Use them to help you recruit board members, don't you have it?
Yes, we've actually, we've had, Brad Snap has resigned. And so he is district 7, I believe.
East Side 2 is,
2. He's,
Becky Tuttle's.
yeah, Becky Tuttle's district. So if you know somebody in southeast Wichita that you think would be good for the board, then um, send them our way. I also, I guess it's okay to say this, Jack told me on the phone today that he anticipates entering his resignation. So, and I apologize. Did not come prepared knowing what district he's from or if he's the mayor's appointment, but no, he's not the mayor's appointment. That's you, Rebecca. So anyway, we'll have a couple of spots to fill. So if you know anybody, have them reach out and we'll talk to them. So. And I have, while we're on other business, I forgot to call roll, so we can do that here. Should go quickly. Jack Silvers, not here. Troy Palmer is absent. Valerie Black is absent. Miranda Penner.
Here.
Rebecca Starkey Kiesling.
Here.
Tracy Terrell.
Here.
Okay. Roll has been called. Anything else for the good of the group?
Well, I was curious from our last meeting, as far as the kind of changing, the city of Wichita purchasing those properties from HUD and getting all of that done. Did that move forward? Is that part of these 33 that are?
Yes, the ones that, they're part of the group that, a major part actually of the, I'll answer it this way. Our competitive application group consists of those properties and the ones that didn't sell in the RFP. And that's where we came up with 56 units.
Okay, so the city of Wichita then has already done all the necessary paperwork, so there's no delays, so waiting for HUD and.
HUD will still have to do some sign offs on parts of the transaction, but the major part of the releasing from the trust is already completed.
Okay.
So.
From a general discussion standpoint, the last time we met was October. So as things like that, different various housing things happen, should the board be like notified, or is there a way for us to know as far as just kind of being plugged in instead of just, oh, hey, we've got some piece of business? I'm just curious how that should work.
Yes, generally boards meet often enough to where we can update them as part of the agenda, but you make a good point. It's been a while since you've met, so I'll commit to do a better job of giving you updates between meetings, especially when we've had one or two canceled. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Anything else? Do I have a motion to end the meeting?
Don't have a quorum, you have to stay here.
Right.
Okay, thank you so much.